Public Service Commission and is a former mayor of the town of Nettleton. Both are agreeing to a debate to be broadcast live tonight on radio and television. Among the topics to be discussed is Reeves' desire to eliminate Mississippi's state income tax, something Presley opposes. Election Day is next Tuesday. Mississippi is often considered to be safely Republican. Eben Brown, Fox News.
3 former researchers at Georgia Tech have been sentenced for their roles in a scheme to defraud the university and the CIA. The 3 admitted to using a university credit card on over $200,000 worth of personal expenses. Preparations are underway for Sunday's New York City Marathon, and security is paramount leading up to the race.
New York City police say there's no known credible threat to the city or Sunday's marathon, but the entire force will be on heightened alert, including its counterterrorism ranks. Thousands of runners will participate in the event, and Police Chief Edward Caban says if an unscheduled protest breaks out, the NYPD will have resources across all 5 boroughs to respond.
We will always respect the right to assemble and support our nation's freedoms, but we will also ensure our runners can enjoy the day without disruption.
Safety measures will include radiation detection, cameras, K-9 and plainclothes officers, as well as hundreds of sand trucks and chemical and biological teams. In New York City, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
The Texas Rangers can win their first World Series in franchise history with a Game 5 victory over the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight, leading the series 3-1. First pitch coming up after 8 p.m. Eastern, and you can catch the action on Fox. I'm Matt Napolitano. This is Fox News.
Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Lawrence County Republican Party show. My name is Brandon Taylor. I am the chairman of the Lawrence County Republican Party, and sitting across the table from me is my good friend, Mr. Lawrence Sutton. He's the secretary of the Lawrence County Republican Party. Good evening, Lawrence. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good, buddy. How about you?
I am doing great. Good to be back on the radio with you. Seems like it's been a year since I've been in here. It's so busy this week, but it's always good. I always have a good time coming in and talking politics, and want to wish my good friend and our good friend Cody Mitchell, wishing him to get well. He actually was not feeling well. He was going to be here with us. He is the Lewis County Republican Party chairman, and he was going to be in studio with us, but not feeling well, so we just want to send him well wishes while we're on the radio. Hope you get feeling better, Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you what, I don't know how we keep up with everything that's going on right now. I mean, how are we doing it? I mean, and when I say that, I'm not talking about just our radio program.
Sure.
I'm just talking about people in general. With everything that's going on right now, it's like things keep speeding up and more and more and more.
It is. You and I talked briefly yesterday, and then it seems like daily the news feeds that are coming out, what's going on in Israel, what's going on in our own state capital, things that are happening here. We see things that are moving along. People are talking about possible legislation on the state level, and then also seeing what's going on in our U.S. Congress. We have got a new House Speaker in the last few days.
Yes.
I mean, so many things are going on, and it's almost like you kind of it looks like it was going to go bad for the House Speaker and Congress, and now, I mean, I'm thrilled with our House Speaker. What say you?
Well, you know, I've looked at the things that he's done in the past.
Yep.
And he seems very, very solid. Of course, you know, obviously we're going to keep giving him the benefit of the doubt, and I want to see what he's really going to do.
Absolutely.
But to me, I'm going to tell you, the Democrats messed up, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think if they'd have been smart, they'd have voted to keep McCarthy, and instead they didn't keep McCarthy. And now they got somebody that is extremely conservative, or at least he seems to be conservative.
Yeah, and I didn't see this coming. I mean, I did not see.
Almost like a Manchurian candidate. I'm just going to tell you.
Out of the dark, here comes a guy just stepping out of the closet and into the light here that we don't even really know. We know very little about Mike. He's not been in politics very much, and he was just
8 years ago. He ran for state House
right.
representative.
That's exactly
and
right.
in 8 years. The man first ran for public office at 43, now at 51. He is the 3rd most powerful man really in the world, if you think about it.
He is. And so I'm excited about what we see. And so that's going on. And also in Israel, you and I have talked some about what's happening in the nation of Israel. Of course, you and I both support Israel.
Yes.
And we agree on that wholeheartedly. And you and I, actually, you called me with a speech that you had seen Benjamin Netanyahu had given, and where he is actually calling Amalek. Hamas, he's calling them Amalek, which is a biblical term.
It is a biblical term, and I really would like for you to expound upon this if you want to, okay? But Amalek, in the Bible, he was actually the grandson of Esau, and he was a great grandfather of Haman, of Esther fame. The man Haman that wanted to destroy and kill all the Jews. And then Queen Esther came and saved her people. And it's kind of funny that Benjamin Netanyahu used the name Amalek because Amalek and the Amalekites were some of the people that were, I don't want to say hated, but I mean, they're right there with the Canaanites when it came with the Jews having to fight.
Sure.
And for Benjamin Netanyahu to use that term Amalek and not Hamas is very, very, I almost want to say prophetic. I'll be discussing this on air Friday.
Okay.
But it is my opinion that if it is not the Psalm 83 war with what's happening right now in Israel, it is a precursor to the Psalm 83 war.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the Bible and you asked me if I would speak a little bit to it.
Yes.
So he's actually quoting Deuteronomy 25:17, and I apologize if I'm not as sharp on this as I should be. I didn't do any research. You and I we're raw off the cuff.
Yeah,
a lot of people may not realize that. If you're listening, if you click that like button, maybe we'll get it to where you do like it, even if you don't. So just give us a chance. But in Deuteronomy 25:17, the Lord had actually said, "You must remember Amalek and what he has done to you." And so, what had happened was when the children of Israel were actually traveling. And to get to the Promised Land, to get to the land of Canaan, Amalek was the Amalekites were the ones who came up and attacked from behind, and they always had a history of attacking the elderly and the children.
Yes.
And they would attack the mothers, the young mothers, maybe that had just recently become a mother, with babies. And so they would attack from behind. They were always looking for the weaker. And if you look at this attack, which they did across their border a few weeks ago, it fits that. They attacked women. They attacked children. And he is referring them back to that biblical passage of them attacking from behind, attacking the weaker. And we see that over and over and over again. And I think he's also, as you just said, and it's very clever the way you're tying it all together, but he's also saying we will not handle it the same way Joshua has done and the way the Jews have handled this group of people in the past. And so some people are saying he's calling for a genocide.
You know what? I almost think so, but you know what? Here's the thing. If you go back and you read the Old Testament, God did call for that. And the main reason, and this is just my opinion of it, reading it, but the main reason that God called for some of the genocide that he did back in the Old Testament is because these people weren't fully human, but they were in fact part of the Nephilim.
Well, I don't know about that. I can't prove that biblically speaking.
I can't either. It's just my opinion.
I will tell you that he definitely did make this connection, and I don't want to try to read into it. The news media always wants to read into it the most negative of things. I don't believe that Israel is wanting to kill women and children.
Absolutely not.
I just don't believe it.
No.
And they're trying to allude to that. We're seeing these protests going on in colleges across the U.S. And some of these protests don't even make sense. Some of the things that they're doing it's not even rational. I mean, if you want to protest, at least have a real reason to get out and protest. But they are telling the people there, you need to leave. Don't be in these areas. We won't bomb these areas. Hamas has always used human shields. It's no different this time than it's been before. But I think the resolve of Israel is stronger than I've ever seen in my time, in my life of watching the history of Israel and studying it. We've not seen anything like this in modern history.
Well, and that's the thing that shocked me when I told you needed to watch what Benjamin Netanyahu was saying last night.
Yeah.
Is that he said from Joshua all the way up to the biblical heroes, all the way up to the Yom Kippur War of 73, he said that they have never expelled these people out of the land. And he says, and even though they were commanded to, he says, I'm here to tell you that we're going to do it. I'm going to tell you what's interesting is I'm watching some of the players in the Arab world that are not jumping on Israel. And to me, it's very, very interesting what is happening when you look at the players that are lining up against Israel. And came out this week was Iran and Turkey.
Sure.
And Iran and Turkey play a very big role in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war.
Sure.
But then Saudi Arabia is doing the exact opposite. Jordan is doing the exact opposite. They are not attacking Israel or even wanting to get involved in this war even. And they're actually calling for peace, where Turkey is saying we will come in and Iran is saying we will come in and we will fight for our brothers. But I'm going to tell you, here's the interesting part, Brandon. And you got to go look at the map of Israel to fully understand what I'm about to say.
Okay.
None of these countries, and even Egypt has come in, and they are actually defending their border on Israel, which is not Israel so much that borders Egypt. It is the Gaza Strip.
That's right.
Do you know why Egypt is protecting their borders? It has nothing to do with Israel.
What's that?
They're trying to keep Hamas, and they're trying to keep the people of Palestine, or what we call the people of Palestine, from going into Egypt.
That's exactly right.
You are not seeing Turkey.
Yep.
You are not seeing Iran. You're not seeing Syria. You're not seeing Lebanon wanting to take these refugees. They are just as guilty, if not more guilty, than Israel, because if they really cared about these people, they would be going, hey, we'll take them. We will take care of them. That's not what they're doing. As a matter of fact, these countries are actually boxing them in and not giving them a way out.
Right. Well, you know, the name, I'm going to touch on a few things, and I don't want to go down a rabbit trail, but
yeah, we do. We need to, because we need to educate.
The name Palestine there is not an Arab word for
correct.
Palestine.
That's
okay?
right.
A lot of people don't know this, but Palestine was actually given to that region by the Romans when they crushed them in the AD 70 revolt.
You mean the Jews?
They gave it. The Romans gave it. They crushed the Jews. Yes, right. In the AD 70 revolt. And when they did that crushing revolt, and the Romans came in, destroyed them, destroyed the temple, the second temple. I mean, just took over Jerusalem. They actually renamed that region Palestine, and that's a Roman. That would have been the Greek word that referred to Philistine.
That's correct.
So a lot of people don't realize that. So Philistines, if you're a Sunday school teacher, or you maybe remember it from back when people were in Sunday school, you remember talking about the Philistines and
David and Goliath,
and so Samson, and so you hear about all these different people from that time, and the Romans called it that as a slur toward the Jewish people.
That's correct.
So toward the area of Judea and Samaria. So I think that what we're seeing is definitely biblical things happening, and a lot of people talk about this at the water cooler at work, or maybe they're at family when they're sitting around on the back porch right now. But we know and we believe biblical first, political next.
That's correct.
But I believe the Bible has given us an outline of how the politics in the world is going to move. And so when we see that starting to happen, we shouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I'm not surprised at all, and that's the reason why I find it fascinating myself personally, watching Turkey and Iran and even Russia coming in against these people.
Well, I think that if we had, if you were to ask people and you talk to them, most people don't know about the word Palestine. Most people do not know that the Romans renamed that area Palestine after the Philistines. They don't know the history of Amalek, but the Jews know. The Jews have not forgotten this history. And so the fact that they have got this history and the fact that they are bringing it up now, I believe the Jews know that there is a prophetic thing happening on the earth. And so as we move forward, I'm hoping that people are going to start studying the Bible. They're going to start researching this. They're going to start digging into God's Word and understanding the Old Testament, even Ezekiel and the Psalm War and these things that have not taken place yet. And some people would argue and say they have. I'm not going to get into a biblical debate with people on that. But to me, I don't believe it's happened yet. But I will say it's happening. In my opinion, these things are actually taking place.
Well, there's a, and you might know this, where I'm going with it, but in Ecclesiastes, Solomon says that there's nothing new under the sun.
That's right.
And just because it might have happened, and some of the great Bible scholars said, well, it happened in 73, or it happened in 67, or Psalm 83 happened in 48.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that it can't happen again.
Sure.
And I've noticed that God works that way, is that it may not just happen one time, but each time is a precursor to what he is setting up to happen.
Well, and even if it has happened before, that really should let you know it is going to happen again.
Yes.
That because nothing's new under the sun. So what we're seeing happening and these things working about now, I'm going to go back to American politics, and one of the things I'm watching, I think that we're going to have to watch our White House. I think the White House is definitely going to flip on Israel. I don't know when, but I just feel it. There's too many Democrats that are pushing against Israel. They're using the Palestinians to. We got a little bit of an echo here. If you could work on that for us.
Yeah.
It's on Facebook and on YouTube. We're getting people texting us back.
Yeah.
It's distracting me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize, but they were working on some things as we started the radio show. So for those of you listening, we've got like 5 things moving at once, and people texting us saying, "Hey, you got to echo." So we're working on it. If you are hearing that, and we apologize. We don't know what it would be. We don't see it here in the studio, but we're going to keep moving anyway. So I'm expecting Joe Biden, our illustrious president, to actually flip. He's actually stood with Israel, which I was surprised when he came out and said he was for Israel.
I was too.
Which should tell us as American citizens how severe and what the American intelligence knows the severity of Hamas and what kind of terrorist organization they really are.
Right.
That's very telling to me.
Well, I was listening to a gentleman that I get a lot of my Jewish news from, a guy that is a Messianic Jew, which is a Jew that believes in Jesus Christ. And his name is Amir Safadi. And Amir was actually talking about today. And he's going through, and he's one of these people actually doesn't believe in Psalm 83 war that is happening now. He actually believes it's already happened.
Sure, a lot of people do.
A lot of people do. But one of the things he was talking about is how horrendous these attacks were. And he gave one example, and they have this on a GoPro that they got it off of a dead Hamas soldier.
Yep.
Where they did this, but they went into a family, husband, wife, and child. They tied the husband's hands back. They took the baby, cooked the baby in the oven while they raped the wife, and then they killed the wife and the husband.
Sure.
I'm going to tell you something. And they got video of this. That right there is so demonic. I cannot imagine how you could do something like that, how cruel that was. But here's the thing, and this is what God did, whether it was with the flood, whether it was with Sodom and Gomorrah. We talk about Sodom and Gomorrah about being, about the homosexuality. Well, that was just part of it.
Sure.
The other part is that once the sun went down, those cities were unsafe.
Absolutely.
And there was violence in the land. And here's the funny thing about violence. Violence is used, this particular word of violence is used 68 times in the Old Testament. Do you know what that word is in Hebrew?
I do. Go ahead and say it.
Hamas.
Hamas. It sure is. You can look that up, folks, if you didn't know that. So here we have a lot of things happening, and we have all these different things that are going on in the United States. And I'll say this about our speaker, our new speaker that was newly elected, and folks can go look this up.
Oh, yes. I want you to tell this story, Brandon. Please tell this story.
Because I've been watching this for a while. You know,
Yes.
this is more than a hobby to me as far as watching what goes on in Israel,
Yes.
as far as watching what goes on Temple Mount. I study this stuff. I do it. This is almost an entertainment value to me. I do it where people are watching football games. I've got the popcorn out studying Israel.
Right.
So to let people know, I've been watching things going on. A gentleman named Yehuda Glick, who is a Israeli rabbi born in the United States, but he is an Israeli rabbi. He gives tours at least once a week on Temple Mount, and he goes up and he gives tours around the mosque and different things that are up there on the Temple Mount. Temple Mount's a 35-acre complex, and I don't want to bore people with this, but Mike Johnson and who was the other guy with him? I called his name.
Jim
Jordan. I couldn't think of his name
yes.
there. I'm sorry. Senior moment, I guess, but too many birthdays. But Jim Jordan, Mike Johnson had called Yehuda Glick, wanted to go on a tour of Temple Mount, and Yehuda Glick took them on a tour. This was in 2020.
Yeah, it was like February, wasn't it?
Yep, it was just before the
COVID.
COVID pandemic had taken off, and they were in Israel. They went with Yehuda Glick on Temple Mount and took a tour, and they were noticing that he was being rushed by the Israeli police because, you know, they don't let the Jews pray up there. They don't let them pray. They don't let them carry a Bible. They won't let them kneel. There's different things they cannot do while they're on Temple Mount that a Palestinian or a Muslim would be allowed to do. And they were questioning, why are you being rushed? What's going on? Well, he finished that tour. They went down off Temple Mount, and he gave his next tour, the next one up. When he went up there the second time, the Israeli police arrested him and actually drug. This video is online if people want to go look it up. Yehuda Glick, Glick, is his last name. He was arrested on Temple Mount. They drug him off Temple Mount. And Mike Johnson, and they were there. So these things are happening, taking place. And so I see this Israeli war. I see Mike Johnson, and go look his interviews up and what he felt about Temple Mount at that time. And I'm giving this for our listeners if they want to go look this up, because this is directly going to affect American politics. And immediately, one of the first things Johnson wants to do is what? Give Israel a huge increase. He wants to go in with a huge Israeli aid bill and pass and give them billions and billions of dollars. That's going to be the next conflict I think we're going to see in Congress. Because Johnson's going to come out very strong for Israel, very pro-Israeli, very much pro for Israel taking back over Temple Mount. And I'll say this, and we're going to say it live on the radio here, and some people may have a little shock factor, but he's also going to be pro-third temple being built on that Temple Mount as well.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, and this is what I want everybody to understand. Even if you're on the other side of this war between Hamas and Israel, God was very plain to Abraham, and he said in Genesis, I will bless those that bless you, and I will curse those that curse you.
That's right.
And I'm going to tell you, I think the only reason that America hasn't fallen off into the sea is the fact that we have stood behind Israel all these years. And I think we have to continue doing it. Whether you agree with what is happening or not, the fact is it doesn't matter what we think, it matters what God thinks.
Each year, the United Nations passes different resolutions against nations condemning them. They condemn actions of North Korea. They condemn actions of different groups that are out there. They'll pass these resolutions. And for years, for decades, the one nation that has more UN resolutions passed against them is Israel. They are number one by far. The most UN resolutions passed. And I'm talking about way back before this war. I'm talking about for decades.
Oh, yeah. Well, you would have, North Korea would get one. You might have China up until about 10 years ago get one or two.
Sure.
And Israel would have like 50 or 60.
At least. Sometimes 150.
Yeah. But I would rather be low than be high.
Yeah.
And so, you would see that. And I tell you what's interesting about this, and this is why, what we're looking at, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, we may be looking at the Ezekiel 38 war. The thing is, though, is even the UN has come out, and Germany especially has come out and has warned Turkey and Iran, do not get involved in this. And the UN is actually sending battleships and submarines, and they're also sending troops into the Mediterranean just in case something does happen.
Yep.
So as we know in the Ezekiel 38 war, all the other players like Sheba and Dedan, which is Saudi Arabia, and the Young Lions, which is Europe, and could even include India and America in on that, because we used to be British territories.
Sure.
They were saying, oh, did you come for booty? Did you come, to take spoil?
Yep.
But all they would do is condemn, but they wouldn't do anything else. So, if people think that this is the Ezekiel 38 war, it's not, at least right this second.
I agree with that.
But here's the but part. It's a precursor.
Right.
Like I will tell anybody that the vaccine, when they started telling us that if you don't take the vaccine, or even the mask even before the vaccine, if you don't wear the mask or you don't take the vaccine, you can't go to work. Or you can't go to Walmart to shop or something. And to me, Brandon, and again, what I'm telling everybody, this is not the mark of the beast, but it was a precursor, because what does Revelations 13:17 says? It says, no man, rich or poor, free or slave, can buy or sell without the mark or his number or his name. Those with understanding, let it know it's 666. So why isn't it not the beast or the mark of the beast? Because there's people that'll die on that and say that it is.
Sure.
Well, the fact is we don't have a third temple built.
Right.
And so that means we don't have a beast yet.
Which gets us back to that point of, I believe, and then we can move on from here to something else, but I believe that we will see a Israeli third temple, a Hebrew third temple built on Temple Mount. I do believe we're approaching that. I believe we're moving toward that. Even in all this conflict, I think you'll see them take it back. And for those people who are listening, if you want to research this stuff, Israel, the Jews have not had control of Temple Mount since 70 A.D., and they have not had any control of that, and they have no sacrifice in place. So, therefore, they do not believe a messianic viewpoint of Jesus Christ being the Messiah. Therefore, they do not have a lamb that removes their sin. And they want to establish a sacrificial system right out of the book of Leviticus. They want to reestablish that. And I believe they're going to do it. And they're very close to that right now. So folks can go research some of that. Look up templeinstitute.org. That's a good place to start. They're right across the street, basically.
You're going to go down a rabbit hole. I'm going to tell you something. Have your Bible in one hand.
They've got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, have your Bible in one hand, have the internet in the other hand. And but you always reference the Bible first and last.
The Jews are absolutely ready to take Temple Mount, and they have been for years. Yehuda Glick, as I mentioned before, he's one of the forerunners of that. Now he's working, and he'll be working with, I do believe he will be working with Mike Johnson. I do think you're going to see that take place, and I think America's going to have a role in all this. And we already do. We already playing a role. So, and I'll say this, and we can move on. Always pray for your leaders. Pray for world leaders. The Bible does tell us to do that, and I think we can all agree for that one. So,
well, we need to, and you know what? More importantly, they need it.
They do.
And
our local leaders. I'll say this for folks in Tennessee and folks in our counties.
Man, how blessed are we?
We are really in a day and age to where the attacks are coming in against our elected officials just for standing up for things that are right, just for standing up for things that are wholesome and family oriented. And I'll even go so far as to say biblically correct. I saw a sign the other day that says people don't have a problem with Christianity until it gets biblical. And I thought, what a great sign. They don't have a problem with it at all until it gets biblical.
Until it gets biblical.
But, I'm the kind of guy, and you're the kind of guy, we're going to be biblically correct first. And then we're not worried or concerned at all with being politically correct, just biblically correct. And I appreciate the Lawrence County Republican Party for putting this show out there. When we go to our meetings, we jokingly say, but there's a lot of truth in it, that we can relax. We're around like-minded people that love our nation. We love each other. We love God. And we want what's best for all citizens here, not just a select few or one group. And so I want to really thank the Lawrence County Republican Party for letting us get out here, get this information out, because as things continue to go, I would love it if Israel could do a ceasefire, hostages released, things go better.
Right.
But it just doesn't look like that's what's going to take place. They're calling for a ceasefire in Israel, but not calling for Hamas to release the hostages.
No.
Where's the outrage over the hostages? It's just not there. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk a little bit about some local politics.
Yeah.
We've been talking about trying to get something together to go to the state capitol. And I want people to know that right after the first of the year, we are planning to get a group together from across the state of Tennessee to go to the state capitol. And if you're interested in being a part of that, we want you to go. We're not going in protest. We're going in participation. We're talking to state
We're going
reps.
there in support.
Support. That's right. That's exactly right. And so we want to have a nice showing. We want people from several counties. We're working with Bedford County, Lewis County, Wayne County. Those are just to name a few. Also with Marshall and Murray. We're really building this thing up.
Our District 28 with
District
Paige
28,
Wally,
absolutely. Paige Wally's a huge supporter of this.
Talk to Paige today a couple of different times. I mean, I am really liking the things that Paige is doing here lately.
Absolutely, and we really support Kip Capley, and just talked to Clay Doggett just before we came on air. But we want to get a group together, so I want people to start thinking about this. Sometime in January, we've not nailed down a date. We've looked at how the legislation session will begin, and I think that starts on the first Monday of the month or the second Monday of the month. So we don't have a date yet, but we want you to start planning to go with us. If you're hearing this show and maybe you're not even from this county, get in contact with us. We want you to go. We're going to go to the Cordell Hall building. We're going to actually be going into the state capitol. We would like to have a big group, maybe have a dinner up there. I don't know. Kind of planning some things out, but we're working with our legislators and letting them know we're wanting to do it. And our legislators, and I want to say this to folks, they are excited that we're going to go.
You know, I tell you what, Kip, we had Jody Barrett in here.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Great show. And I want to let everybody know, hey, look, you know, Jody Barrett, he may not be in our district or anything, but this is a guy, you know, we need to support. There's going to be things that I've disagreed with that Jody has done. But at the end of the day, and I've said this to all of our elected officials that I've talked to, if you stand behind our Constitution and you do not try to do anything against our Constitution, then we can agree to disagree on things.
That's true.
But where I'm going to draw the line in the sand is if you try to do anything to take away any of our constitutional rights. As long as you don't do that, then we can have a good debate.
Sure.
But that line in the sand I have drawn, and I have been very plain about that line in the sand. But, you know, Jody was one of 7 people, Kip being one of the others,
sure,
that voted to not have the special session. And they were under a lot of political pressure to move forward. Now, and they have told me this, you know, Kip and Jody both said this, not about the political pressure end of the things, but how once they seen what Bill Lee had done, they understood why they didn't want to go ahead and get rid of the special session, because they actually thought that they could come in and have some laws in place that was actually going to give us more gun rights.
Okay.
And you know what? We had a couple of different instances that almost happened. Now, the good news is nothing happened in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
But there's a couple of things that could have happened that could have came down that would have expanded gun rights in this state.
Right.
So, but here's the thing. Kip and Jody both knew that their constituents did not want this.
Right.
And I will say this, and they were talking about this as well, is that a week before, there was probably 50 of them that were going to vote for it. And then it got all the way down to 7.
Yeah, I heard that.
And the reason why, you know, and I understand the reason why, but I'm trying to bring this information out to our people, is that they were steadfast. I'm going to do what my constituents want, not what I think is best.
Yeah. And we're talking about Kip and Jody.
And Jody, yes. And we're going to have to do what's best at that point. Let me rephrase that, not what's best, but what our constituents wanted.
Sure.
And I'm going to tell you something. I respect that, because even if they agreed or not, okay, they were going to do what their constituents wanted, not what they may have wanted, like a lot of the other ones did.
Right. Well, you know, I want to touch on something, and I made a note as I was looking, as you were talking, I made a note here, and I'm going to use what another pastor had said to me, or I heard him say, he didn't say it to me, but I did hear him say it, and I'm gonna borrow this from someone else. So somebody wants this information, whatever I'm about to say, if you want to use it, use it. I'm not trying to put a copyright on it, but I want to talk about two things that all people do, and this is where we have to look at politically speaking. And the Christians really get hung up on this one. Okay, this is a big one. So please don't send me the hate mail out there. Hear me out and ponder what I'm about to say. It's amazing how the Democrats or the liberal left will attack a conservative candidate or a conservative elected official over some of the things they practice, and they'll come after them. I mean, they will attack over what they practice, when what we should be focusing on is what they promote. So I'm going to touch on this in two ways. Number one, when we elect an official, we're not electing a pastor, we're electing an elected official that should be following and listening to the pastors. Okay?
Amen.
So
Amen.
We're not. When we elect a president, I'm not electing someone that should be up here leading communion. Okay, I'm gonna be very blunt. I'm not looking for that. And so we get hung up in the fact of they'll say, well, this guy, he's not perfect. Well, guess what? Try to find a candidate that is. If you find one that is, they won't run. And so let me finish this thought. All right. And then, so look at what they promote, not what they practice. All right. So what they promote is what their voting record. How do they vote? How do they relate to their constituents? How do they come out and relate to the people? Are they good at relaying information back and forth? A communicator. You don't just need. They actually, number one is they should be a communicator. They should be communicating what the people in their districts want, communicating that to our government, and then they should be communicating back to us what the government's trying to put on us and standing up for our rights and our freedoms. They should be communicating those two things back and forth. If they're not a good communicator, they're not going to be good at this office. If you never see your elected official, and I don't care if it's your school board member, I don't care who it is, if you don't see them out in the public, if you don't see your county commissioner out there, and there's some county commissioners I really like, but if they're not involved in your district, in your area, they're not communicating with you. How are they representing you if they don't know you?
That's right.
So we have to look at what they promote instead of what they practice. We put the magnifying glass, and Democrats will put the magnifying glass on what someone practices. They'll say, oh, the guy he had a divorce, or he had a rough marriage, or something happened in his past. I've seen them go all the way back to where they were in high school. We've seen this, where they go all the way back to where they were in high school and pull things out of their yearbooks from when they were in high school.
Right.
God forbid that. I mean, I tell people all the time, if you hear somebody say something that I did, just believe them, because I was terrible as a young person.
Yeah. Aren't you glad when me and you were growing up, we didn't have social media?
Oh, Lord. Well, God knew what he was doing when I was born in 1978. So.
Yeah, amen.
But look at what they promote. And so here's how we focus on what they promote. And I would love to see some folks in Lawrence County and surrounding areas get in on this. We need a scorecard. We need to watch how they're voting and get the information out there.
Gary Humble's supposed to have us a scorecard.
Gary Humble's working on that. Listen, you know what I can't stand is to go to any meetings, and I've been to meetings. I was actually believe it or not, I was actually in a city council meeting in Wartrace, Tennessee, just over a week ago.
Right.
Just because I went and was there as a guest. But in all the meetings I've been in, the one vote that I cannot stand is a pass. If you're an elected official, and I don't care if you are a faithful tithe-paying member of your local church, and you have been since you were 12 years old, since grandmother taught you how to sing Amazing Grace, do not be voting pass on a vote. Your vote should be up or down. When you vote pass, what you're doing is you're removing the voice of all your constituents and saying, I will not give my constituents a voice in this particular vote.
Either that or they don't have the balls to vote why they should.
Well, either way. But they should be there. They're there to put a vote forward. So
yes.
You'll see that. So I want to say this to people who are listening to us. If you're elected official, if you're state rep, if whoever, wherever you're at, because people all over the state listen to this, if they're up there voting pass, you need to replace them. You need to pass on them. They do not need to be up there representing your voice. But let's focus on what people promote. And if you're in your area, start going to school board meetings, start watching. We need scorecards on these folks showing how they vote when sensitive issues. Some of it's boring, some of it's ridiculous, and they have to vote just because it's a lot of it routine. But there are things that come up that are sensitive issues, and we need folks involved. Here's the only way it happens. You have to have volunteers willing to get out there and actually listen, watch, and record the meetings and take advantage of their opportunities as they might have with their work schedule to get in there and actually develop these scorecards. Gary Humble is doing it. And I'm hoping we get Gary Humble back on the radio here. We will. I was actually in a meeting with Gary Humble. He was there on Saturday in a meeting that we were at. So I had a great talk with him. They're working on scorecards for our state reps, state senators. And I think once they get the template out there, Lawrence, we could start transferring some of that to the county level and doing some stuff like that with our county commissioner meetings and also our school board meetings.
Right.
And city councils.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is, that's how you hold your, that's how you as a constituent can hold your elected officials' feet to the fire.
Sure.
And just let them know. But and when I say the feet to the fire, that sounds kind of harsh, but I don't mean it that way, because you know what? Just as important it is for our elected officials to communicate to us, it is just as much, if not more important, for us to communicate to our elected officials. And a lot of us don't do that. And we have seen the fruits of our labor, you know, Brandon, you and I, because we have communicated to our elected officials.
Absolutely.
And we haven't done anything special. There's
No.
there's nothing special about us.
No.
I mean, by any means stretch of the imagination. There's a lot more people that are going to be more competent.
And you know what I'll say to the folks that maybe hear us and say, well, I don't like these guys. I get it.
Yeah.
But at least give us this much
We
credit.
don't like us sometimes, do
We're
we?
here. We're here because we care.
Yes.
We're here because it matters. And if we make a total disaster of a meeting, or if we make a total disaster, we just flub something up. We're human. But you know, when we came in and we started working in the Republican Party here and doing things, one of the things I tell people on all of our teams, make me one promise. If you mess up, you won't give up. And so that's been our commitment to Lawrence County, is that, okay, we may mess something up, but we don't want to give up, because here's why. Nothing special about us. That should tell folks two things. Number one, if they want to get involved, it's really easy to get involved.
Come in with us.
Yeah. And number two, they shouldn't be intimidated by anything we're doing.
No.
I'm a regular guy that gets off work, comes up here to meet you. We come in here, rush in, put our stuff together, put this out because we care about this county. We care about our neighbors, and we want to make a difference, and we want to keep it good for our children and our grandchildren. And I think there's a lot of people that share that sentiment in this community and also across Tennessee.
And I think a lot of people don't understand how to do it.
They don't.
Or they're intimidated by doing
Sure.
it, but don't. I mean, come get involved. I mean,
That's right.
it's not as hard as you think.
It's not. You're right.
And there's people that, you know, I thought we would have a lot more pushback than what we've had. I've actually felt like everybody has welcomed us in open arms, even people that we've disagreed with.
Absolutely.
Because we're not afraid to tell them the truth. We're not afraid to give them our opinion.
Sure.
And you know what? I'm going to say most of our officials, at least in our area, I'm not going to talk about it.
Well, yeah, we can't talk about things we don't know. But,
That's correct. I'm just talking about in our
here,
area.
It's been great.
They are very receptive.
They are.
When we have concerns.
Well, as they see people get involved, as they see people getting involved in the Lawrence County Republican Party, and I mean, I'm in meetings, been to several meetings with Republican parties in other places. Cody
Yes.
Mitchell from Lewis County is going to be here tonight. We've been to his meetings as well in Lewis County.
Yeah.
As we're getting involved, people see there's a tidal wave of people actually coming to our meetings. It's growing. And thank you. If you've been coming to our meetings, come on in. Our next meeting is going to be on November 28th at 6 p.m. at the Lawrence County Courthouse. Put it on your calendar. Come on in and be a part of it. One of our topics is going to be what we're going to do with our transfer station with our solid waste being removed out of the county. The department that's removing all this is actually the company that takes care of that.
They're more than doubled
They're going to
our
double
cost.
so we're going to have to deal with this as neighbors.
Yes.
Here's how we need to be dealing with it. Let's go and have a meeting. Let's have a good meeting. When I say good meeting, rated G meeting. We don't
Right.
go in here and cuss each other out and there's
I'm
no
gonna
need to
tell
be
you something.
slanderous or name calling. Doesn't accomplish
and
anything.
I will say this: our leaders, our county commissioners, our county executive David Morgan, they don't want to raise
No.
people's costs.
That's right.
They don't want to raise the taxes.
That's exactly
because
right.
they live here too, and they have to pay it as well.
Well, I know for a fact, I've talked with David Morgan, our county
Yes.
executive.
Yep.
He's going to be there. We're going to field questions from the audience. We have We're going to have equipment set up to where you can ask questions. If you come to our meeting, we'll give you a chance to ask him. Going on Facebook and complaining, okay, I just don't think I don't think it brings any
Keyboard
solutions.
warrior.
That's
Keyboard
it.
warrior.
Come to the meeting November 28th. Let's work together as a community. I don't care if you're Democrat, if you've never even voted. I don't care. You live here. Your voice matters.
Absolutely.
We got to bring ideas to the table to find the best solutions. And so I want people to show up for this meeting, November 28th, 6 p.m. at the courthouse. We're going to be discussing this. We'll have other issues as well. We'll have other guest speakers in there as well, working on some guest speakers. One individual that's wanting to run for judge. I've had just a little bit of communication. They're going to be there. We'll get a chance to meet them.
Yeah.
Let's know who our judges are. Let's know what's going on in our county, and let's hear it right out of the official's mouth, instead of handing it over to the media that's always slanted. And as conservatives, it's hard to find a conservative news outlet. So another thing we want to do with this radio program is give a conservative viewpoint. We give our viewpoint,
right,
but we let the elected officials come in and say it themselves, and we don't dictate what they say.
No.
We hand them the microphone
and let them talk.
Speak. That's what we'll be doing on November 28th.
We don't even dictate what we're going to say.
No, we don't. We probably should.
It'd probably be a better program, wouldn't it?
I've never wanted to get in radio. I've never wanted to get in radio. This is not something I aspired to do. Never wanted to do politics.
We got the face for radio, though.
We have a perfect face for radio, and so we're here and we're doing it. And I know that if folks getting involved, it's not us making a difference. It's the fact that other regular people
are getting involved and getting behind us.
That's exactly right. And they're all in. We're in it together.
Yes.
There's no one commanding this ship. We're all in this thing together as citizens.
The Lord's commanding this ship.
Amen to that.
The Lord's commanding
and we need Him to lead it. Without a vision, the people perish. But we have a vision.
I got
and the vision
goosebumps on
is that we are going to take this state back, and we're not going to let it be divided. We're not going to let the Republican Party be divided. We're working on these things to where we can actually work in the Republican Party. Republican Party is nothing more than a political tool that we can use, and it's here at our disposal. So we need to be using it.
So I think what I have is the news that I'm about to break, I think, is something that we've been hearing over the years, and nobody believes it, or they believe what our government says.
Okay.
But I have on video, and I'm going to attempt to play it. And there's two different video or audio of this being said, so people can hear it from his own mouth and not me and you saying what he said.
Absolutely.
He's getting the microphone from us. He just doesn't realize it.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a gentleman by the name of Stephen Dettelbach. And let me tell you who Stephen Dettelbach is. He is the new ATF director, okay, from the Biden administration. And do you know how the ATF is, and everybody keeps telling us that that when you buy a gun, there is no registry.
Yeah.
Okay, we have no registry.
Nothing official.
Nothing official, no registry. We're not even allowed to have a registry. Well, I got Stephen Dettelbach talking to Harvard University yesterday.
Okay.
On video, stating that they do have one.
All right. So you think you can get it to play?
I'm going to work on getting it to play. You're going to have to excuse me, but I am going to play it. And here we go. Here's the first one.
Okay. We can trace them to the first retail sale, which sort of gets, Congress has set limits on how much data we can keep. I am the only, and we can't have a firearms registry. There's a law that says ATF can't have a firearms registry. So I am the only, as far as I know, I'm the only customer of Adobe Acrobat who we at ATF pay them extra money to remove search function from their product so that we can comply with what Congress has mandated. And so we have, every time there's a trace run, it is done literally by a person going through either records that are scanned in, looking at them one by one, or running into the boxes and boxes and boxes of records we keep, or getting on the phone with the many currently in business firearms dealers, asking them to read to us or provide to us a form 4473, which is the form that people fill out when they buy a form from a gun dealer. So we.
Wow.
So So anyway, that's the first one, but it gets worse.
Really?
Yeah, it gets worse. And here's what I want you to do after I play this second one, okay? And everybody hears this. And I say this in love. And you're looking at me going, "Oh crap!" But of the two
That's
of us,
unusual.
yeah.
God bless you.
But you speak liberal.
Okay.
Okay, I don't speak liberal.
Okay.
Okay.
For those that may be just listening, I'm not a liberal, but I do know how to communicate with
You
them.
do know how to communicate with them. Me, they start calling me names and screaming and yelling at them.
And some of those names I agree with, folks. Go ahead.
Okay, but you can talk to a liberal. You can tell a liberal to go to hell, and they actually pack their suitcase and they look forward to the trip. Okay?
Okay.
So, anyway, here's the second one, but I want you to tell people what is really being said here.
And when they go out of business, they send us the records, and they send us the records many times in paper format. And they come in boxes, boxes and boxes, millions a month of these records. And there are these people wonderful people who sit at our facility in Martinsburg, West Virginia. And they sit at tables, and their job is to go through these boxes and boxes, an endless number of boxes, right? There's always more boxes, right? Millions of them, and take out the staples. And if there's waterlogged ones, flatten them, and take off the clips and separate them every day, all day, from 9 in the morning till 5 at night. That's their job. Now.
So what he's doing is he's speaking at Harvard, okay?
Yes.
He's actually pandering to the audience.
That's correct.
So he's speaking their language so that they know they're building a database file to monitor every firearm owner in the United States. That's what they want to do.
That's correct.
The liberal mindset wants to disarm America. They think you should own a firearm for hunting, and I guess they want you to own a muzzleloader or black powder rifle or something to that effect, which is ridiculous. But so he's speaking to them in a manner where he wants them to know they are working on the database, even though it's illegal and they shouldn't be doing it. But these wonderful people going through boxes and boxes of legal gun owners building this file and building this database.
Well, see, here's the thing. You know why they're flattening them out and they're taking the staples out?
They're scanning them in.
It's easier for them to scan them in.
Scanning them in.
And you know what? I'm just going to tell you something. Even if you trust our government, to me, you're just looking to eventually hand this stuff over to China or whoever our other enemies are.
Well, they probably the ones that control the database.
They probably are the ones that control
That's
the database.
how this works. They build the microchips and they steal information, and that's what they do. Now, here's what will happen, and this is my opinion, okay?
Yeah.
So people out there listening, don't get mad because I'm not a prophet, but I am a historian. Here's probably what I could see happening. That database file will get hacked. And then they'll have to apologize because every one of the legal firearm owners, their information is going to be out there for public use because it'll get hacked.
Kind of like what happened in California a couple of years ago?
Right. And I do know this for a fact. In Tennessee, and I saw this statistic a while back, I want to say this was pre-COVID, Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, just it's our government, our website and things out there, has 300,000 hack attempts. Let me spit this out the right way. There are 300,000 attempts to hack the government system in the state of Tennessee per month.
Per month?
Per month.
Wow.
Per
so
month.
over, oh my gosh, that would be over 10,000 hacks a day.
So for me, letting them have our information and put it out, they're not responsible with it. They're responsive. They react, not proactive. So they end up losing this information. It gets out there and folks know. And there's an unspoken code with firearm owners. We don't tell people all the firearms we have. Well, all that information gets out there public, and then people know. And that's the goal. I think that's probably an end goal is for these people that want this information to be put into a database. They know it's going to be hacked. It's not. I've received an email and I can't tell you from who it's from, but just in the Republican Party, high up in the Republican Party, because we're affiliated with the Republican Party. I got an email from this individual a few days ago, and the email said, hey, can you just email me back? I can't talk right now, and I'm in a meeting. Well, I have this individual's personal phone number, and this is a ranking official in the Republican Party, way higher up than the county. I text this individual and said, hey, I can text you. I have my phone. I just saw your email. This person responded back and said, that's a scam. They've hacked our email accounts, and they're sending emails out for us.
So, that's interesting that you say this. I'm glad you reminded me.
This is Tennessee. I'm not talking about 100 miles from here.
This past week, I received 4 texts, not even email, 4 texts,
yep,
saying that I had a package at the post office waiting for me, and I needed to come get it. And I knew I didn't have a package. I was in town, but I'm like, well, maybe Victoria ordered something. Or,
trying to get you to give them any information you'll give them.
That's correct. So I went to Etheridge Post Office.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I go, is this from y'all? And they look and they start laughing. They go, you're the 3rd person that's come in today.
Well, I know someone else that doesn't live in Etheridge. They had it happen last week as well. They contacted me over it and asked me if it was legit. And I said, no, it's not. This is a scam. But it looked legit. It looked like it was an official email. So, all these things out there on databases. But anyway, folks. We have
45 seconds,
folks,
fastest
we
hour.
want to see you at November 28th. Make plans to be there at our next meeting, 6 p.m. at the Lawrence County Courthouse. Thank you, Lawrence County Republican Party. If you're listening to this show, if you like it, hit the like button, subscribe, send it to your favorite liberal. They'll thank you for it in a couple of years when they finally wake up and come to the truth. God bless you, Lawrence, for everything you do, and the nickname sticking. Orlando's going to be there.
Well, you know what? I actually saw your name on a gas pump today.
Really?
Yeah, it had FJB on it.
Well,
let's go, Brandon. We'll do the clean version of it.
All I can say
let's go, Brandon.
It was going to be Orlando or Cocoa Beach. I couldn't decide which one, so I thought Orlando was a little better, but I think it fits, and it's spreading around the state.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody we got a little bit to go. God bless you. God bless the state of Tennessee, and God bless the United States. Have a great day. I'll see you guys on Friday.
WDXE, W287